time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. I'm not for everyone. And if you're honest, neither are you. But most people spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to be liked, trying to be understood, trying to avoid conflict. And in the process, they water themselves down so much that no one really knows who they are, including them. Here's what I've learned after many, many years of giving away my power through approval issues. The quality of your relationships is directly tied to the clarity of who you are. Not your likability, not your flexibility, not your ability to keep the peace, not your ability to be who you think other people want you to be. Your clarity, your authenticity, although that word's so overused. And that requires something people avoid like the plague. Turning towards yourself, knowing who that person is, not around yourself, not away from yourself, but towards yourself. Because it's a lot easier to point at other people and say, they don't get me, they're difficult, the situation doesn't allow it, they're the problem. But let's get real for a minute. Are you willing to look at how you're co-creating the relationships you have? That tension with your partner, the distance with your kids, that frustration with your clients. You didn't create it alone, but you are part of it. And there's a concept in psychology called locus of control. People with an internal locus of control take responsibility for their role in outcomes. People with an external one blame circumstances or other people. Guess which group has better relationships? Yeah. So let's ask a harder question. Where have you been blaming instead of owning? Where have you been waiting for someone to change so you don't have to? Where have you been telling yourself a story that keeps you comfortably right and relationally stuck? Because accountability isn't about taking all the blame, it's about you taking back your power. When you own your patterns, your communication, your reactions, you stop being a victim of your relationships and start becoming a creator of them. And here's the kicker. When you stop trying to be for everyone and start being honest about who you actually are, you don't lose relationships, you filter them. And what's left is real. And that's what most people are actually craving. This is just part of the conversation that I had today with Virginia Muzquiz. And we were talking about affiliate partnerships and referral partners and relationships in business, but we got a lot deeper really fast to start to really look at how the quality of relationships in our lives make all the difference to our definition of and experience of success. So join us today for more on that. Good morning or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to the Maturepreneur Podcast. I'm your hostess, Jeanette Anderson, and today I have with me the fabulous, lovely looking, and awesomely brilliant Virginia Muzquiz. Did I pronounce it right?
Close enough.
Muzquiz?
Muzquiz. Think moose like the animal, keys for your car. Yeah.
That's right.
All good.
Yeah. And so today we're going to be talking about how to create a six-figure success without ads, how strategic partnerships turn relationships into revenue. And Virginia is the Referral Diva. She is the queen of all things to do with referral partnerships, networking, turning those relationships into substantively supportive situations for your business. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeanette. And I just want to say thank you because you have been a pivotal human in my journey. And I've just learned so much from you over the years, personally and professionally. So I'm really glad to be here today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we've worked together in many different ways and places in the past. So I'm going to read you her official bio. Then, of course, we're going to find the juicy details behind the scenes, and we'll launch into finding out more about this cool topic. So Virginia Muzquiz is the founder of Master Connectors, Inc., creator of the Referrals on Demand framework for building six-figure networks, and widely known as the Referral Diva. The coaches, consultants, and service-based entrepreneurs hire her to show them how to replace cold prospecting and hustle with consistent revenue by creating strategic partnerships. Virginia specializes in turning relationships into reliable referral ecosystems that produce predictable cash flow and long-term growth, something we could all use. Solo entrepreneurs who join her high-touch two-year mentorship program curate profitable networks filled with proactive, engaged partners and add multiple six figures to their revenue through trust-based referral systems. Trust, we're going to talk a lot about that. All right, so let's leap right in and find out a little bit more about you. So that's what, the official word is. Mm-hmm. What would people be surprised to learn about you, Virginia, that's not on your website that most people don't know?
I'm depressed most of the time. I think most people would be shocked to know that I'm actually an introvert.
Yes, that's true.
I think people would be completely and utterly shocked to know that I am not. People exhaust me. Yeah.
Okay. So that's also true for me. I'm an introvert by nature, but an extrovert by training because needed to be as a coping mechanism, but I have to recharge and spend time on my own. All right. And so I do want to come back to the depressed most of the time because that is part of your journey, and it is one of the things that makes you unique in terms of the success you've created because you've dealt with that, push through it, overcome, etc. So you're talking about your journey. Let's talk about that as well. So what was one moment when you knew you weren't done?
That I knew there have been a lot of them. That I knew I wasn't done. I think it's probably about three and a half years ago when I got Guillain-Barré syndrome, almost died, and had to really make a decision because I could have just crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. Like that was an option, and I chose to stay, and I chose to continue to not only do the meaningful work that I'd been doing, but really to shift the energy behind the work. And that has been a beautiful thing.
That is the quintessential not done. Okay, and very dramatic version of that. Why did you choose that? What was the motivation behind that?
I really believe that the world is faced with a lot of challenges, and especially in our industry, Jeanette. It's gone awry in a lot of ways. And I am fortunate that I'm a discerning soul, and I have been able to surround myself with humans that have integrity, humans that mean business, humans that account for the people around them first, their people first, profit second. That I've been really fortunate, but I keep meeting people that aren't that way. And I have like a bug repellent to that. I'm like, oh no, but I watch a lot of people get sucked into that vortex and get painfully drained and feeling like my ecosystem, if I can just bring folks into this ecosystem, our side of the equation, that we can create more ripple effect of good and integrity and honesty and connection in the world, as opposed to whatever that is over there. To me, it's sort of blue, like Matrix, right? There's like blue pill, red pill. Yeah. And I just feel like, a promise made should be a promise honored, and that just doesn't happen enough. And so I guess I'm just trying to repair damage.
Yeah. I often tell people and kind of myself at times that my goal is to rehab the industry because it's, like you said, lost a lot of integrity. So it's a lot of
I was
work
going to say, did it lose it? Like, I'm just sort of like, did it lose it, or did just a bunch of us that have a different mindset like pour in? That's I kind of feel like it's been kind of smarmy all along. And then there were some really unique individuals like Jim Rohn, like Bob Proctor, like there were some interesting humans in there. But I think, snake oil's been around for a really long time.
True that. So tell me a little bit about how you made the leap into entrepreneurship.
So I've probably been an entrepreneur since Girl Scout cookies, to be honest. I just think it's in my blood. I am fundamentally unemployable because stupid rules are stupid and they're meant to be broken. And that doesn't work really well in education. It doesn't work really well in corporate, and I was working for an entrepreneur who owned 7 franchise locations of a nationwide franchise. And I had been promoted to his vice president of contract sales, and I was working my patoodle off. And the last year I was there, I did about $2.5 million in sales. And in our little podunk town, we were the number 1 franchise in the nation for the work that I was doing. But I was really miserable. And the biggest part that was making me frustrated was, I have no problem, Jeanette, getting into the office at 7 and working till midnight when required. But then you better darn well give me a day off when I want it, because I want to take my kids to the zoo. Yeah. And his philosophy was like, no, you get 14, blah, 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 blah. It was like this. And I'm like, first of all, you're an entrepreneur. You are not Boeing. You are not Wells Fargo. You are not that. You're an entrepreneur and you're acting like a corporate mogul. Yeah. And I get it, but I'm out. Because if I can bring you more revenue than you've ever been, more fortune, more fame, more recognition, put you higher on the leaderboard than ever, and you can't give me time freedom. I was like, if I get the job done, why do you care when I'm in the office? Like, what does it matter to you? And that's when I really realized that it was time. It was time once and for all. I had done Mary Kay, so I'd been in direct sales, and that was an epic fail. So the funniest podcast episode I ever did was with Jenny Bellinger, and it's called My Direct Sales Epic Fail: Things You Should Never Do as a Direct Sales Consultant, right? It was like, it was bad. So I had done that and failed at that, which is why I went back and got a JOB job. But I really realized that time freedom and my libertarian values were the most important thing to me. And I would rather, I'd rather sell friendship bracelets that I make at my dining room table than go back there. And I was fortunate. Somebody saw me and said, hey, why don't we buy a franchise together? We'll fund it. You run it. And that was great till it wasn't. And then I was like, oh no. Okay. So business partner out, and that's when I just opened my own company, because I just knew that self-determination and sinking or swimming on my own merit was really important to me. And then I realized that when you do it by yourself, you sink a lot more than you swim. Mm-hmm. And I started to build an organization that where people want to come and work. And that has been, I read The Buddha and the Badass by Vishen Lakhiani about Mind Valley and how he built the value system upon which he built Mind Valley. And I was like, that is what I want. I want to build a company where people just say, oh my gosh, yes, I want to work for you. I want to work with you. I want to be part of this with you. And that's been the most exciting part for me.
Cool. Okay, there's a lot of things in there that
I know
that I want to follow up on. Probably too many for this one podcast, but one of the things that you clearly said is that you've been entrepreneurial from the start. Me too. I think I came out of the womb with a briefcase in hand, which my mom didn't appreciate. But part of that is really how you think and think differently. And one of the things you said is self-determination really matters, that I want to be in charge of my destiny. One of the biggest shifts from employment to entrepreneurship in terms of mindset is in employment, you work hours. You work a
Yes.
certain number of days, you work, et cetera. Whereas in entrepreneurship, it's about results, less about time, and more about what gets done and how it gets done.
Yeah.
How did you make the leap? Was there a challenge for you, or was your entrepreneurial predisposition to make it easy? So, you mentioned you sank more than you swam. What was the biggest challenge for you in making that transition?
Boy, how do I phrase this? All right. I'm going to call it victimhood. All right. So I'm going to call it the external world. They won't buy. They won't refer. They won't give me money. They won't. And the idea that if I did a cattle call, get up, go to the back of the room, buy my thing, the way we used to do it, right? Because we didn't have this online world. Anybody who didn't get up, go to the back of the room, hated me. Like there was a sense for me that if you didn't buy from me, it was personal. It was that you didn't like me. And to be fair, it kind of is, but it was very difficult to really come to the conclusion that you hear it say, like, you're not cheese pizza and vanilla ice cream. You're not for everybody. I'm not bland. And so fewer people are going to jump on the bandwagon if if what they're looking for is neutral. And I had to really learn that. The second place that showed up, and I'm going to give a big shout out to Danny Eny, because he was coaching me, and I let it go over a cliff, right? It was going beautifully. And then it was like, I let it go over a cliff, but I blamed Danny for it. And I was like, you didn't do this, and you didn't help me, and you didn't whatever. And, I know, and I love you, Jeanette, because you've been on the receiving end of a little of that, or a lot at some point, right? Like, I was always in that space where I was doing my best, but it was the coaches, or it was the clients, or it was whatever. And then after I got sick, what shifted was I turned to a coach. I just happened upon this person. And the very first question they asked me was, are you willing to turn towards yourself? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. So I don't know if I'm willing. That's like asking me, are you willing to eat a pile of whatever's in this box? I have no idea what's in the box. Right. And he said, if I assure you that it's nothing, like, it might hurt, but it won't kill you, kind of a thing. Right. It was very hard, but now I understand it. And what that is that we co-create it all. So it's not just your actions, it's my actions. And it's not just Danny's actions. And Danny told me, it's like, I get it and I own my part, but the biggest part of this whole thing is you're the CEO of your life and you abdicate. And I think it's super easy as an entrepreneur, especially coming out of the gate and striving and thinking about what you should be doing, and you should be a millionaire by now, and all of that noise that you hear. It can be very confusing, and it can alienate yourself from your purpose, from your why, from your wisdom, from your innate guidance. And that was really a hard lesson for me. I lost a lot of money. I lost some friends. I've been able to go back and say, hey, I kind of behaved badly, and I'm sorry. I was in a lot of pain, whatever. And you were right. And everybody that I went back and said that to, they were like, never saw that coming. But just even going back and saying, you were right, and I'm sorry, was reparative and restorative, because it happened so infrequently, right? And so I think that for me, when you say, what are the trials and tribulations? What is the hardship about the mindset? It really is the notion that you're co-creating it all. Your entire, as my friend calls it, shiz show is of your own doing. And you can participate or not. You can change the way you are in that. And when you change you, everything else around you shifts.
Beautiful, and so well said, and such a really deep insight as well, that especially around the insidiousness of the victimhood, of how we give our power away by saying it's the market, it's them, it's my marketing, it's my whatever. when really the self-agency, the getting that, I am the source of what's going on out there, both internally, energetically, and practically, then we put ourselves back in the driver's seat, and we can have that locus of control back where it belongs, which is with us. So brilliant realization, and thank you for bringing that forward. So what have you built, and how do you serve people now, and what's your business?
So Master Connectors is a mentorship consultancy that embraces solo entrepreneurs who have been struggling for a while in the mid to high 5-figure mark, making enough money to rob Peter to pay Paul. So like maybe one month you don't pay the gas bill and the next month you don't pay the water bill, and you fall 2 weeks behind on your car payment. So sort of that sense of I'm making enough to get by, but I'm really one disaster away from getting a job. And working to create self-reliance first, right? The self-reliance, and then laying technologies over the effort and realigning the way people are approaching business, so that they're actually approaching business and not winging it. And so that's really important. I have told people I am the last mentor they're ever going to need, because at the end of the day, I will serve them for as long as they want to be served. And if I cannot, then I will mentor them to the next place. And that has been very redemptive for me. I just learned a few hours ago that one of my clients last year had made $23,000 total in the whole year. And when they came, they were behind in their rent. They were living on faith and hope. And she just told me that this quarter she's exceeded $35,000 in revenue for the first quarter, 2026. And that warms my heart, right? That idea that in less than a year's time, I can take somebody who hasn't been able to figure it out, and through faith and mentorship and belief and just a little tweaking on the systems, suddenly she's become in 9 months an authority in her space.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know there's nothing quite like when a client lights up and gets it and has that kind of breakthrough that is like, okay, this is it. This is worth it. Okay, so tell us some practical things about relationship building, referrals, networking, affiliate partners, et cetera, that we would not necessarily think of or wouldn't perhaps have heard before.
Okay. So I would say the first thing that we need to really consider is a mindset shift. Most people are out networking because cold outreach feels icky. So like they don't want to be like, I'm sliding in your DM, right? They don't want to be sliding into inboxes. They don't have money to do ad spend and really wouldn't know how to set up a Facebook ad if their life depended on it, even if Perplexity could show them how, right? So the only thing they know is that networking is supposed to get you clients. So they're networking to get a client. That's called prospecting. So they're not networking, they're prospecting, which is actually cold calling in person. So they're actually doing in person the very thing that they're trying to avoid.
Yep.
Right? So, and it doesn't work. And the shift is networking is just another way to market your business. And just like if I create content that nobody reads, if I create an ad that nobody clicks on, if I send out emails that nobody opens, if I'm talking to deaf ears, it's all the same result. If I have good marketing, I know who I serve. I know what the pain point they feel is. I understand the promise they're seeking. Like I know what they're buying. Because they're not buying 3 coaching calls a week. They're buying an outcome. Yeah. I have a cell phone, not because I want to talk on the phone. I have a cell phone because it has a GPS and I'll never get lost again.
Yeah.
So That was the greatest thing. Like the smartphone for that one thing was the greatest thing ever. And the fact that I don't have to like download stuff onto a Garmin, even better, right? Like it's sort of, what did you buy? And I think once people understand that, that makes all the difference. So that's number one. And number two, it's all a principle of marketing. Who you talking to and who you hanging with. So if I'm a plumber, it makes sense for me to join the Association of Realtors. That makes sense because hello, there's my entire referral network. I guess I could join a chamber, but like how many real estate agents are like how many potential referral sources are at the chamber? If I just say I'm going to go to the chamber because everybody has a toilet, then I'm prospecting. Do you have a toilet? Does your toilet leak? Hi, I'm Pete the plumber. Does your toilet leak? Does your toilet leak? Does your toilet leak? I mean, in a room of 100 people, there's probably 3 people who have a leaking toilet or a toilet that won't stop running. But like, is that really how you want to do your business?
Right. So you've been a big advocate of affiliate partners or referral partners or that kind of relationship. What's one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they try to create those relationships?
One is saying yes to everybody. Hi, will you promote me? Sure. Hi, will you promote me? Yes. Hi, will you mail for me? Yes. Hi, will you swap webinars with me? Yes. Again, who is on your list? Who is in your audience? What do they want to hear? What do they want to hear? Who do they want to hear from? Yeah. Is what you're promoting aligned? That's number one. Number two, do you have the self-efficacy and the bandwidth to keep your commitment? If you said you would promote, are you going to promote? I only agree to a podcast interview when I know that we're going to promote it and the promotion's going on the calendar, right? So the minute I know the release date, there's a whole week that's going to go on the calendar, and I don't promote multiples. So I once every 2 weeks, I say, here's everything coming up, and here's once every 2 weeks, click on anything you want. But my specific promotions, I just don't do a lot of doubling up. Yeah. But I think you can really burn through your list by just saying yes to everybody. And you can burn through your audience by not giving them what they want. Right. And I think that's really a key. So yeah, be really smart and strategic. And just like you wouldn't go into the big room and shout, hey, y'all, I can help you. Be specific and be really intentional. What other piece of advice would you have when it comes to people really getting support for playing that bigger game? Because calling in support is something that many entrepreneurs struggle with. And creating mutually supportive relationships can also be kind of a challenge or foreign to a lot of people. So what do they need to be, do, and have to be successful at that? So there's a great book, because I'm always going to drop a book title, right? Dr. Ivan Misner, the founder of Business Network International, published a book a few years ago called Infinite Giving. Okay. And there's a couple of things in there that I think are very interesting. And then I'll share an exercise that I do with my clients. So probably in infinite giving, it's all about how to create reciprocity. And so you can create relationships that are both giving and receiving. And Lisa Nichols has a quote in there where it says, give from your saucer, not from your cup. So it's the equivalent, it's the networking equivalent of put your own oxygen mask on first. If I am in the desert and it's my last sip of water, I'm probably not going to give it to you because I'm not giving you my last dollar. I'm not giving you my last airline mile. And I'm not going to give you access to the highest level of connection that I have either. I mean, the number of people that want to meet Bob Berg or Ivan Misner or Jordan Adler or some of the higher level people that I have in my network, I'm like, no, I wouldn't. No, that's not no. So I think knowing, having some boundaries around those things is really key. And the other thing that I think is really important, and this is a big one, okay? Because most of us are overgiving. So we've heard, Jay Facette. Yeah. Joint ventures are a game of I'll go first. Okay. But not second and third and fourth and fifth and 10th and 400th.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to bribe you with hope and prayers. Like, God, if I just give Jeanette a little more, it'll tip the scale. No. We need to work by agreement with people. So that's number one, is make your agreement. What is acceptable to you as a partnership? Just like when you're in a relationship with a friend or you're in a relationship with a marriage. If I go out with my girlfriends, who's paying? We should negotiate that so everybody doesn't just walk away and leave me with a $400 bar bill.
Yeah.
Those are conversations that should be had first. So that's number one. Number two, how many times do you hear somebody say, "Oh my gosh, Jeanette, you've been so helpful. Thank you so much. What can I do for you?" And you go, "Oh, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm fine. I don't need nothing." Yes, you do. Yes, I do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We need stuff.
Yeah.
So what I do is I keep a running list of stuff that I need.
Right.
That's it. I had a friend come to me and say, "Hey, you've been so great. What can I do for you?" And I said, "Hey, I just got this really cool project and I need to meet somebody like this." And they were like, "Perfect person. Here's the person. Person calls me. Deal done." I mean, problem solved.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wait 6 months to get the problem solved. But when she said, "What can I do for you?" Mm-hmm. I knew who she was. I knew what kinds of things she could provide for me. And she's a super connector. So I thought, well, she's got a whole network I don't know about. Maybe she knows somebody who can help me with this. Yeah. That person got on the phone, completely values aligned with me. I said, "Look, worst case scenario, it looks like this. Best case scenario, sky's the limit." They were like, "Worst case scenario is more than I could hope for."
Mm.
Okay, awesome. So I think we need to know what we need. And when someone offers, we need to receive.
Yes. Yes. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And the first piece really speaks to know, claim, and own your values, because if we're giving ourselves away all the time, really what we're trying to do is prove our value. And that's draining, that's not helpful, and it doesn't come across as really getting who we are and what we deserve. And then the other side of that is being able to graciously, productively, and practically receive. So brilliant insights. Speaking of, earlier you mentioned it really is helpful to know your why and your purpose. So I want to give a little shout out to, if any of my listeners here are feeling stuck at a crossroads, maybe not clear on what your vision is for the future or what your why is right now, then please do go to Maturepreneur.world and check out the Clarity Compass workshop. It's designed for those of you who are saying, "What's next? Who am I now that I'm not the CEO? How do I turn what I love and who I am into something that pays me well? Or how do I create that next legacy project or lifestyle?" So don't sit there saying what's next, take action. And part of, the brilliance that Virginia's been providing here is go to your network, have conversations, ask for what you want, get some support with getting resources, ideas, connections that are going to help you. The relationships matter, but only if you actually create relationships that work. So a couple quick questions, Virginia, and then we'll wrap up with your piece of advice. But before we do that, tell people you've got a gift for them. So tell them what that is.
It's called the Business by Referral Blueprint, and it's essentially a workbook. So it's, there's a lot of PDFs that you download and they go in a folder and collect digital dust. And the self-help that becomes shelf help, well, now it's just digital dust in a folder. And this is really designed to help you with 6 simple steps for turning your networking into marketing. So before you go to your next event, if you work your way through this workbook, it'll only take you 30 minutes. So 30 minutes to completely change what happens the next time you go to an event. The Business by Referral Blueprint is designed to help with that.
Perfect. I'm getting it right now as we speak, because I actually haven't downloaded it before, which is surprising. And I love digital dust. I have a lot of digital dust collecting, but I am going to read and do this workbook. Okay, so what's something about reinvention? Because you've gone through many reinventions over the years, many repositionings and so forth. What's something about reinvention, internal and external, that no one tells you?
Oh, that reinvention is an inside job and it's not fun. It's not fun. It is often uncomfortable because in order to reinvent yourself, you have to let parts of yourself go. And that feels shameful sometimes, right? Like, oh my gosh, I got it all wrong in my 50s. No, you didn't. You couldn't know that you got it all wrong in your 50s if you hadn't done all that stuff in your 50s. So reinvention is a process of recognizing not necessarily that you got it wrong, but that what got you here doesn't serve you to get you where you're going. And so you make the decision to hard stop on the habits and the thoughts and the beliefs that got you here, but won't get you there. And if you can just put those suitcases down, leave them in the train station and walk away, you're gonna be a lot happier. I learned that from my mother-in-law 10 years ago. She turned 70 and she said, I'm going to save you 20 years. I'm going to save you 20 years of angst if you will just do this one thing. I learned it at 70. You could have it at 50. So whenever you want to put your suitcases down, go right ahead because it's worth it.
Okay, well, on that note, what's one belief that held you back the longest in your life?
That I had to be right to be loved.
Yeah.
That I had to be right to be worthy. That I had to know the answers, be the answers. And it's really a problem because you can't evolve, learn, change, grow, transform if you're always right. It's very rigid.
Yeah. Got goosebumps on that one. Knowing you for a long time, that's a really beautiful evolution and awareness, and something that holds all of us, including me, back. So, what would you say to someone who thinks it's too late?
I would ask you to prove it. So I would, this is the best coach I ever had. So I would have a limiting belief. It's too late. Say, all right, it's too late. I'm going to give you 2 weeks to prove it. If you can prove it, you get to keep it. If you can't, you got to let it go. And design an experiment for yourself that says, okay, what do I mean by it's too late?
Yeah.
And then go do the very thing you think you can't do because it's too late. And I got to tell you, if you can make even 1 centimeter of progress, then you don't get to keep that belief. Prove it.
Prove it. It's such a brilliant, such a great coaching technique, but also just a really brilliant piece of self-talk. And it just immediately dispels the validity of that argument. You know, it's just like, yeah, I probably can. So I guess that I can
I've done 43 and I haven't proven myself right yet.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what final piece, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, do go and get that blueprint. You can get it at masterconnectors.com/blueprint and find out more about Virginia there at masterconnectors.com. Is that the best way to get a hold of you or get in touch?
That, or if you DM me in LinkedIn, I'm happy to just upload it there or send it to you if that's easier than,
All right. And then the other option, of course, is to go to the vault where you can get not only that, but also other gifts that they have given you. So you can go and have a little shopping spree and get all sorts of great tools and resources. So what's one final piece of advice you'd like to leave everyone with?
I spent a lot of years giving too many you-know-whats. And then I spent 10 years actively pretending I didn't have them. Like, I don't give one. I don't give one. I don't give one. I don't give one. And I no longer have any to really give. It's just the notion of jacking up your nervous system in battle to be who you are and to succeed is not worth it. And so I would just say, remember that a boundary is not what you want someone else to do. A boundary is what you will do when someone else behaves contrary to your values or your needs.
Oh, there's a lot of gold in that. So I'm just going to drop the mic on that and say to everybody, first of all, thank you. This has been a wonderfully in-depth interview with a ton of value. So ladies and gentlemen, please share this episode with other people. Share it on your page. There is a tremendous amount of wisdom to be had in this conversation. And so, my friends, it's time. It's time for you to pitter-patter. Let's get at her. Time for you to be the difference that only you can be. Because frankly, if not now, when? Thanks for being here. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.